Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Lambda School's free mini bootcamp course. My name is Dan Frainer. I am going to be your instructor for the next 3 weeks as we kind of journey through kind of the basic tools and beginning of learning what it takes to be a web developer or software developer. So, as I said, this mini bootcamp course is absolutely free. We offer this once a month to anyone that is interested in learning the basics of web development. And it does last 3 weeks. We will be meeting 4 times a week, so Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the next 3 weeks. So we'll do 4 lessons a week. And then by the time we finish our last lesson on 3 weeks from now, you'll have all the tools you need to create a live working web application. So kind of just to give you an overview of what we're going to be doing these next 3 weeks. Tonight, we're going to be going over kind of just our general kind of outline of what we're doing, and then we're going to hop right in and start talking about our bash shell and our terminal. And then we will get into a little bit of version control using Git and GitHub. Then we're going to transition into some basic HTML and CSS tomorrow night. And then from there, we're going to go into some intermediate CSS when we start talking about positioning. And if all of this is completely foreign to you, don't worry. By the time we finish this class, it will not be foreign to you. You'll be able to talk about this in depth. And then on Thursday, we're going to start to get into our JavaScript, and we'll spend the majority of our class time talking about JavaScript and computer programming and actually building programs. And then by our last lesson, we're going to tie it all together and start building a working web application that you can show off to whoever you want. So it's a really awesome course, and I'm really excited to be able to do this for free and teach you all for no charge. And it's pretty great. And you know, the goal of this course is to give you a feel for the kind of the basic tools that professional web developers use every day at the job. All right, these are kind of the building blocks of web development here. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are like where, you know, the core strengths you need to have to be a web developer. And my goal is to get you excited to continue learning and continue your progress of you know, whether it be you're just in here just to check it out and see, you know, if you like this or not. If you're dead set on, you know, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to continue on, I'm going to learn how to be a professional software engineer and get a job in it. And this is a great first step, a great building block to that. And I know a number of you are planning on participating in our Academy of Computer Science, which is a 6-month immersive full-time software development course. So I do want to talk a little bit about that for those of you that haven't heard of it or, you know, that are interested in applying. We do offer a full-time course and a part-time course. So our full-time course runs 6 months. It is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's you are in it. This is like, we go over a lot of stuff, most of the stuff you need to know, but you know, you're in it for, it's full-time, 6 months. You know, it's broken up into 2 sections. We offer the first half is more geared and targeted towards web development and software development with, you know, we start from everything from the very basics, you know, kind of right where we leave off in this course. And then we jump into data structures and using web frameworks. We go into backend. We go talk about Node.js, Mongo, relational databases, MySQL. We talk about web DevOps and deployment. And then you build a project, and it's really awesome. And that's the first 3 months. And then we shift over into our computer science portion of the course, which, goes through C and through operating systems, and we're now teaching Python and Django, and it really is a full computer science education. We're really happy to be able to offer that, and that's our 6-month course, and that starts the first Monday of every month. So the next course for our March course started today, but our next course starts in the first Monday of April. If you are taking this course, this mini boot camp, and you complete the mini boot camp, if you're interested in applying, please apply, especially if you're interested in applying for that April start date. We'd like to get you in and through the application process as early as possible to give you time to complete the pre-course work, to give you time to kind of figure your own things out. And so if you are planning on applying for that April start date, please do so ASAP. And please put on your application that you are participating in the mini bootcamp course. There is an application process, there is an interview process, and we give preferential treatment for those of you that work through and complete the mini bootcamp course. It just shows us that you have are willing to put that time and that effort in, and you're already doing that up front. So please put that in. One thing I'd love to mention about our course and about our 6-month course, our mini bootcamp here, what you're doing tonight, I want to reiterate, is 100% free. For the next 3 weeks, this course is absolutely free. You'll find us here every single night, Monday through Thursday, for the next 3 weeks. Our full-time immersive course is free to start. So there's no upfront. There's no money up front at all. You only pay when you complete the course and you get a job, right? And so that we are lucky enough to be able to do that and to share the risk, with you. You're taking the risk of putting your time and effort in. 6 months is not a short amount of time. And so you're taking that risk and you're putting that time and effort. And we're taking the risk in that we need to make you career ready by the time you're done in that 6 months. And that's our ultimate goal. And so that allows us to go in on this with you. And so, as long as you put the work and the effort in through the course, we're going to teach you what it takes to be a professional software engineer. And by the time that 6 months is up, you're going to be ready to go into the field and be a professional software engineer. And then only once you have gotten a job in the field, then do you pay us back. And I'll go into that a little bit more detail in further days. But, it's just this really awesome program we have that we're able to, kind of de-risk the process here, where we don't require you to put any money up front. All we require of you is to put the work and the time and the effort in. So it's really an awesome program that we have going, the Lambda School Academy of Computer Sciences. It starts, like I said, at the first Monday of every month. And it's a 6-month program. We also have a part-time after-hours program that runs for 12 months. And I believe the next start date for that is the first Monday of July. So if you're interested in that, please apply. That's a really popular course, as you might imagine. And so spots are filling up on that really quick. So if that's what you're interested in, please apply as soon as possible for that 12-month after-hours course. And that's every evening, Monday through Friday. And then we also do instruction on Saturday mornings as well for 3 hours. So that allows us to kind of get all of the instruction and all of the material that we teach in the full-time course to the students of the part-time course. And the curriculum for the full-time and part-time are 100% identical. So that's really a cool thing that we're able to offer, as well as that after-hours part-time course that runs 12 months. But most of the stuff I'll talk about a little more in depth as we go through the course, through this mini boot camp. Once again, this is the Lambda School mini boot camp. My name is Dan Frainer, your instructor. And this mini boot camp is 100% free. So if you are not in Slack, you're probably in Slack, but join our Slack group and hop into the questions channel. The questions channel is the channel I'll be monitoring as the class goes. And that's where I'll see that any questions you have during the course, during the class, let me go through it, and I'll point some other channels out that we have. Let me share my screen here. So I'll make this a little bit bigger. We are breaking this course up into 12 distinct lessons. Tonight's going to be lesson 1, but you'll see we have 12 lessons here. For each of these lessons, tonight's lesson does not have an assignment specifically, but there is a lesson channel for each of these lessons. So there you'll see CS lesson 1, CS lesson 2, etc. So for each lesson, if you are working through the assignments or working through rewatching the videos, and you have a specific question about that assignment, go ahead and hop into that lessons channel, and you're going to get much more direct and much quicker information and someone to answer your question than if you just post it in the questions channel. Questions channel is really for use during the lessons here. So keep that in mind, that there is a lesson channel for each lesson. One thing I'll mention as well is that there are assignments for the lessons, but the assignments, there's no due date for this stuff, right? We give a lesson each night, but I don't expect you to have completely finished the assignment from the night before and mastered that content. This is stuff that takes time to really learn and really learn well. Work through these assignments at your own pace. We're always here. We've got some great TAs that are helping us out through this. Your fellow students that have taken the mini boot camp before, hang out in the lesson channels. There's always someone to answer a question for you. So don't feel like if you didn't finish your assignment by the next day that you're getting left behind, because that's not how we operate. We go at your own pace. The only time that there's a due date on any of these assignments are if you are starting one of our full-time programs, then these assignments are due by a certain date, and the admissions staff will let you know what that date is during your interview process. But for right now, take it easy, go at these at your own pace, and reach out for help if you need it. Yeah. So let's get started. Today's lesson is lesson 1, Git. So I'll kind of show you, and I'll post a link to this GitHub, and if you don't know what GitHub is yet, you will understand and know what it is by the end of this lesson today. And that's what today is all about. But it also, let me show you. We have access to all the class notes for every lesson in here. So when I give you this GitHub link, we're going to do a few things with it, and you're going to pull this down and essentially download it onto your own computer and have access to all this. But you'll have access to it online whenever you want as well. So our class notes will always kind of give you an overview of what we're going to cover. So tonight we're going to cover a description of version control and Git. We're going to cover some basic terminal commands, and we're going to talk about forking and cloning an existing github.com repo. And we're going to go over some basic Git commands. And then we're going to talk about submitting a pull request. And for most of you, this is all foreign language to you at the moment. But like I said, by the end of the night, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about and exactly how to use this stuff. There are some prerequisites, not only for this lesson, but for the mini boot camp as well. First and foremost, I need you to create a github.com account. It is 100% free. Let's go log out. You come in here, you pick a username, you put your email in, give it a password, and then you have a github.com account. And I'll go over why you need this. But I would recommend a few things while you sign up for a github.com account. First and foremost, your username, pick something professional. This is going to be something that you show off to future employers. This is going to be your kind of face in the software development world. So your username, I always like to do first name, last name. It's just like a professional email. Make sure that it's a professional name. There is an ability to upload a photo, upload a professional photo, nothing crazy, nothing you wouldn't show to an employer, essentially. When you do sign up for this username, if you are applying for the Lambda School Mini or the Lambda School full-time or part-time immersive courses, the Academy of Computer Science, please include your GitHub username in your application. It allows us to find your work, see your work, and admit you much, much quicker than if we don't have this GitHub username. So sign up for it. And if you've already applied and you don't have a GitHub name yet, either DM me or email the admission staff and let them know what your GitHub username is. So you will need that. Oh, I logged out. Whatever. The second thing you're going to need, if you've applied to Lambda School, then set your account to email to public. You want people to be able to find you on, one second. You want to be people to be able to find you on GitHub. Like I said, this is going to be a kind of your face in the software development world on the internet. So go into your profile, go into settings. Where's profile settings at? Must be in settings. There it goes. Settings, public email, and select the email that you want to be your public email and set it to public. That allows us to find you as well if we don't have your GitHub username. All right. The next thing we're going to need to do, this course, you're going to need either a Mac, a Windows computer with Windows 7 or above, or a Linux computer. So if you have a Windows computer, there is a link in here to downloading Git for Windows. Click on that. You'll get to it. Download Git for Windows, and it comes with something called Git Bash. And Git Bash is what you're going to be using for most of your development career. Unless you're developing specifically for Windows in a Windows environment, most of us are using a Bash shell. So this is essential in completing this course and also for the full-time course as well. For advanced users out there, if you are an advanced Windows user, you can also use WSL, which is the Windows Linux shell. So you can use that if you have Windows 10. But for those of the majority of the students, use Git Bash. So there is a link in there to download Git Bash. If you are on a Mac, Git is pre-installed and you can access it from your terminal. I'll show you how to open your terminal in just a moment. You might be able to, or you might be directed to download some of Xcode command line developer tools. Follow the instructions. It's really quick. You do not need to download the entire Xcode program. So if you are finding yourself in the Mac App Store downloading Xcode, which is like 7 gigabytes, it's unnecessary unless you are planning on doing iOS development. But it'll give you a quick little say like, oh, type this command to download the Xcode command line developer tools. Boom, you'll get them. If you're on a Linux machine, you may need to install Git by accessing your terminal and entering apt-get install Git. If you're having trouble with any of these, there's a link in here that takes you to the GitHub or the Git troubleshooting installation. So you can, go and choose whatever on if you're Linux, right? It tells you the exact command to run on the exact Linux system that you're using. Most of you are Ubuntu, so it's apt-get install Git. those are the prerequisites, not only for this course, not only for this lesson, but this entire course. You need to have Git installed, and you need to have a GitHub account. Let's go through what version control and Git are. You've heard me say Git so many times, and it's probably just going in one ear out the other. You have no idea what it is yet. So version control is a concept in software engineering which applies to the management of source code. So there's a lot of systems for applying version control to source code. We're going to be focusing on one of the most popular, which is called Git. If there's SVN, there's TFS, there are many different source code version control options out there. By far the most popular right now, and for the last probably 5 to 7 years, has been Git. And it is expected when you enter into a professional software development role that you know how to use version control, you know what it is, and most of the time it's going to be Git, especially if you're in the web development or in app development. It's going to be Git. Git was created in 2005 by Linus Torvalds. Those of you that are total computer nerds like myself know that Linus Torvalds was the developer that wrote the original Linux kernel and that open source Linux stuff. He also developed Git. Git allows a team to work concurrently on a single project. So we call them repositories. A project is called a repository. And that it allows us to work on the same project. It allows an entire team to work on one project, one piece of code, essentially, at the same time while all staying current and up to date. It's done through a process called branching, where each member of the team or even a feature of that team can have their own branch from the master branch. So that branch is kind of what happens is you have your master branch. That's your code that's set in stone. You take a branch off of that master. What it does is it makes a copy of that code. You can work on that new branch, and then when the time comes, you can push that code back into the master branch. And Git is going to evaluate the changes that were made, and it's going to reflect those changes without interfering with any other changes. So, you can have 15 branches off the master branch with 15 developers working at the same time, and they can all push their code back into the master, and Git will do its magic. Hopefully, we'll talk about that in a little bit later of when it doesn't work out super well. But Git does its magic, and it merges all the code together, and you have this new master branch, and it's this really awesome ability. Think about back in the day before we had version control or Git. You say you had a single file that was you wanted to work on. Well, you couldn't work on that file the same time as someone else because you might make totally different changes, and then when you went to put them back together, everything would be messed up. Or you can only work on that file one time. So say all the files were on one computer, and you had to actually physically take the file off the computer on like a thumb drive or something and to go work on it. And only one person can work on that file at the same time. Git and version control completely alleviate that, where we can have massive teams, and not only massive teams, but Git and GitHub, which I'm about to talk about, are used for open source software development. So you can have thousands of developers across the world working on the same project at the same time. And it really is a wonderful thing to happen to software development. Git also works as a kind of a time machine. So not only does it allow us to work concurrently on the same file, but it allows us to go back and look at every single change ever made to that file. And it allows us to, say 2 months into working on this project, we find a bug that was introduced, a month ago, we can go back and find exactly where that bug was introduced and take that code out at that place. And it's awesome. And it allows us to revert any changes made to the source code throughout the entire history of the code. So from the moment we started that code to where we are now, we have every change that's ever happened in that code. So that brings us to github.com. It's a network. So it's more closely related to like a social network. But it's just it's a place for you to store your repositories. Essentially, I like to call it a repository of repositories. So if we go to github.com, it allows us to, it's like a social network meets Dropbox is essentially what it's like. It is. It allows us to have our accounts. We can go to our profiles, see all the work we've done, all the repositories that we have in here. And it allows us to see other people's repositories and open source code. If anyone that works on open source code is on GitHub right now. And it allows us to store our code in a central location. And so that's what github.com is. It's not the only one of its kind. There are many available. Many of these websites or programs, applications available. GitHub is probably the most popular. There's also GitLab, Bitbucket. There's a bunch of other Git repositories out there. GitHub just happens to be the most popular. It is, by no means completely devoid of its faults. But, the give and take of it is that GitHub is the most popular Git repository on the internet. And when you're applying for jobs, employers really like to see that you have a github.com account so they can go in and look at the code that you've written. Git is not GitHub. I want to make that ultra clear. Git is a version control system, and github.com is it's a company that operates this Git repository. So GitHub allows us to store Git repositories on it. They're not the same, but they work really well together. And so, like I said, it's going to act as a portfolio for any of the code you've ever worked on. Hopefully not ever, but any code that you've worked on that especially if you want to show it off, you put it on your GitHub account. If you plan on being a developer, you should have a GitHub account. We're going to be using GitHub extensively throughout the time at Lambda School. That includes if you join us for the full program, we were going to use GitHub. So let's talk about terminal commands. For those of you that are on a Mac, you can hit Command spacebar and you can type in terminal. You're going to have something similar to this pop up. And this is your bash terminal. You can see right here, bash. You're going to have something really similar. It might look a little bit different. The default terminal is white, but essentially it's going to be the same. It'll have the name of your computer, and that's the name of your computer again. Talking about the terminal, we're going to be using the terminal, or referred to often as the command line. For those of you on Windows, this is going to be your Git Bash terminal after you download Git Bash. We're going to be using this extensively. Essentially, what the terminal is, it's a really powerful tool for us. And what it does is it gives us access to our computer. It gives us real access to our computer. If you're on Mac, you can open your Finder and you can go through, desktop and you can open, different things. That is what they're doing here, is that they're accessing the terminal and they're giving you a different. They're giving you kind of a sanitized version of your computer here. So the terminal is really powerful because it gives us full access to our computer. And we're going to learn a few commands to kind of traverse our file structure on our computer. And I do want to acknowledge that, especially for very beginners, the terminal might be pretty scary at first. It's this non-graphical, pure text. It says a lot of really wild things sometimes. Sometimes it gives you zero output, so you don't even know if what you did worked or not. Sometimes it gives you things like it'll say like critical fault and things like that, and like kind of over dramatize what's actually going on. I don't want you to be scared of this or afraid of working with the terminal. It just takes some getting used to. And that's why we like to start it on lesson 1 so that you can just start easing yourself into using the terminal. Sometimes you're going to open your My Computer or you're going to open your Finder and you're going to go get the exact file you want, and that's that. But the more you get used to using the terminal, the more power you're going to have over your computer. And to be quite honest, I never use my graphical Finder any longer. And that's the ultimate goal, but acknowledge that is not going to happen right away. We're going to learn some basic commands and we'll get you on that path. The first command I wanted to show you is ls. What this means is it means to list the contents of the current folder we are in. So the current folder, we're in the top level folder right now. So this would be just like opening my computer. So now we see I've got a bunch of folders in here, and you can tell they're folders because they don't have, file name or file extensions on them like .exe or .js or .html. They're just the names. So that means that they're folders in here. So they just printed out the list of the folders that we had in the current folder we are in, which is our top level folder here. Which, we can see desktop, documents, stuff that's in our top level folder, downloads. So this would essentially be, if you're on Windows and your computer is set up pretty normally, this will be like your C drive. The second command I want to show to you is called cd. And what cd means is change directory. And directories are folders, and folders are directories. So when you change directory, or if I ever say, what directory are you in? That just means what folder are you in? And change directory allows us to move into a folder. So essentially it's double clicking that folder, right? Is what it does. It allows us to go into that folder. So if we say cd, and I'm going to say Lambda School. Now, like, remember when I said earlier that you don't get a whole lot of output sometimes? We can see that we're in the Lambda School folder over here, but we can also list all the contents of this folder and see that we've changed into this other folder. And we can see that it's on here. And now we can see that we're in a different folder. I want to show you a couple of cd commands. So we said cd, change directory, and then we gave it the name of the directory. We can also say cd ... and that's going to take us up one. Go ls. Now we see that we're back to that first one that we were on, in that first top level directory. So let's go cd Lambda School. I'm going to ls this. Let me clear it so I can make this a little more clear for you. I'm going to go cd pre-course. Oops. I'm going to ls that. Now we're in the pre-course. And now I'm going to show you, if we say cd and there's a little character called the tilde, so that little kind of squiggly line on a Mac, it's in your upper left-hand corner. It's shift and back tick on your keyboard. On Windows, I'm not 100% sure where it is, but it's on the keyboard somewhere. So if we say cd and that tilde, that's going to take us to the top level. no matter where we are. We can be, 40 levels deep, 40 folders deep in there. And if we say CD tilde, that's going to pull us all the way back to the top. So remember that we can say the name of the folder we want to go to. And we can say ... which brings us up 1. Let's do this. ls, and we can say ... which brings us up 1. And now we're back in that Lambda school folder. And we can say CD tilde, and that brings us all the way back to the top. So that's change directory, CD. We also have mkdir, which is make directory. And what you're going to do on your assignment tonight is you're going to make a directory called Lambda School. I already have one, but file exists. But you just say mkdir, the name of the folder you want to make. And so essentially you're making a folder, right, in the folder that you're in. And now you'll see, oh, there's a Lambda School, even though it was already there, but that's what it would have done. So mkdir is make directory. The next command I want to talk about is, we're going to, oops. Is the touch. So if I say touch, and I give it the name of a file I want to create. So touch will create a file for you. It'll be totally empty. There won't be anything in it, but it'll create that file for you. So I say touch, and I want to say new file.js. Once again, I get 0 feedback from it, but if I ls, I can see that new file.js is now in the Lambda School folder. Okay, so that's touch and the name of the file you want to create. Touch will not create a folder for you. Touch will not create a directory. You have to say make directory, mkdir, to make a directory. Touch will make a file for you. So let's go. The last one we're going to talk about is remove. rm, and rm will remove a file for you. Rm, I have to give you a bit of a warning on it. This bypasses any sort of trash can or recycling bin or anything on your computer. RM is permanent. There's not going to be a dialog that pops up that says, are you sure? It's just going to delete it and recklessly. So make sure that when you are using RM, that you use it on a file you 100% want to delete. We did. And it doesn't, like, there it goes. You saw nothing happen. It didn't do anything, but it went in and deleted that file. And I'll show you, nothing is in my trash can here. So be careful when you use RM. If you make sure that you want to delete it. If you want to maybe keep it for later, go into your Finder or your My Computer and throw it in the recycling bin or trash can. So next thing we're going to talk about is GitHub itself. And here we go. And forking and cloning. So I'm going to drop this into the general channel in Slack. That is where you're going to fork and clone your repo. Once you have signed up, once you are logged in, you can tell because there's going to be your photo or something in the upper right hand corner, and it's not going to say sign up or log in. You're going to click on that link. It'll bring you to this page. Oops. It'll bring you to this page. You'll see in the upper right hand corner, there's a couple of buttons up here, and there's this one called fork. Click that. What this does, and you'll see your photo or something there. Mine, I've already forked it. That's why it says you already have existing forks of this repository on my name. So click your photo. It's going to do a little animation. And what that's doing is it's copying this entire repo onto your profile. Now you can go to repositories and you can see now that you're going to have pre-course in there, and it's going to say forked from Lambda school / pre-course. So that means that you created your own branch off the Lambda school pre-course branch. Click on that and you'll know that you're on your own branch because your name will appear in the upper left-hand corner, and it'll say forked from. If it says Lambda school / pre-course, you need to fork it and go to your own fork of that, this repo. We say that because we're about to do something right now called cloning. And what cloning is going to do is it's going to allow us to copy all of the files from this repo onto our computer, onto our local computer. And local means that the computer that you are working on. We're going to take it off the cloud, well, not off. We're going to make a copy of it, and we're going to put it on our local computer. And I don't say download because downloading is totally different in our context right here. We are going to clone. And so in order to clone, do not click on download. Do not click on open in desktop. Copy this address, right? Make sure that you're on your own page, your own repo. Click on that green button, clone or download, and copy this address. If you are on Windows, you might need to do something to your Git bash in your settings to allow you to use Control V to paste. But we're going to copy that, and then we're going to go back to our terminal. And I already have a copy of pre-course on there. So in our terminal, we're going to use Git now. Our first Git command is going to be git clone, and we're going to paste that address. And now you're going to see cloning into pre-course. You're going to see a bunch of stuff happening. And essentially, it's downloading that whole repo onto your computer. Do not use download. Remember, I got to tell you that because cloning actually sets up a link between your computer and github.com that allows you to send files back and forth, that allows you to update your github.com repo. In just a moment, I'll show you how. So remember, you have to fork it first from the original Lambda School pre-course. Click on that fork button, click on your photo, and then it'll take you right to your forked copy. Your name is going to be in the upper left-hand corner. If it is not, go to your copy. Click on the green button, copy that address, go in and type git clone and paste the address in there. Okay. Now that we can ls and we'll see that we have pre-course in there. We can open pre-course and we can, I'm going to touch new file.js. I'm going to ls, make sure that new file.js is in there. All right, it's in there. And now I'm going to use our second git command, which is status. Git status. And git status is going to tell us where we are, right? So now that we have this repo, that means that our Git program is watching that folder for any changes that have been made to it. If there have been changes made, such as me adding a file to that folder, or even changing some text in one of our files and saving it, it'll see all of the changes that have been made. And then it's going to tell us, well, we have an untracked file. So our third git command we're going to learn is add. And add is going to add a file or add changes to our Git history, right? And now we can git status again. And remember, git status just tells you the status of your folder. So you can hit that, do that as many times as you want. Git status, git status. I would get status over after every single change, okay? Now that we've added the file, it asks us if we want to commit the file. And so adding the file is telling Git that we want to add the changes to Git. Committing is telling Git that we want to save these changes in our Git history. So we can say git commit, and we can give it a flag, which is a hyphen, and the M, which stands for message. That stands for inline message. If you don't give it that M, it's going to open up the default text editor, and it might not be pretty because it might be Vim or Nano or Emacs or whatever's the default on your computer, and it might take a while to get out of it. But if you do -M, you give it some quotes and say, give it a commit message. Added a new file, new file.js. And what this is doing is this is going to save this Git history. Right? So remember when I said we talked about Git being a kind of a time machine? It will save the history. It'll save our changes in the history. So now we can go back and look, where did we add new file.js? And we can see, oh, there's the commit, added new file.js. There it is. So you always want to be really clear in what you've changed in your commit messages. You always want to really tell whoever's reading those commit messages what's new or what's different about it. Okay, so I said added a new file, new file.js. And now we'll see we finally get some feedback on it. Now we have a new commit, which is a new save, and that's added to our history, and the message. Then it tells us what's happened, one file changed, create mode, it added a new file. Now we can get status, and it'll say your branch is ahead of origin master by 1 commit. Origin master is your repo online on github.com. So it's saying that we have changes on our computer that aren't on the on our repo online. So we'll come to our fourth and final for the night git command, which is git push. And what git push does is that takes all of our changes and it gives them back up to our repo on github.com. When you hit git push, it is going to ask you for your username and your password. I have it set up so I don't have to enter my username and password anymore, but you're going to see, it's going to say username, and you enter your username. And then you'll see something that says click enter, and you'll see password, and you'll see this little icon, which is just a key, and you're going to enter stuff, but it's not going to move. Just know that it is entering your password when it's doing that. So you enter your password. Oh no, you guys saw my password. And you press enter, and then you should see this stuff. So this is telling you, oops. Oh man. Oh. There we go. Sorry, I got into my Git history there. You'll see that stuff, and then you hit Git status, and it's going to say your branch is up to date. Now let's go and check it out. I'm going to refresh my branch, and we're going to see there's a new file with the added new file.js commit message there. And we're going to see the last commit was 2 minutes ago. That just happened, right? And that is how there's a flow to it. You got to fork from the master first, then you have to clone from your own repo, then you make your changes, you add, you commit, and you push. The last thing I'll show you tonight is called a pull request. And if you click on pull request from your own repo, it'll bring you to this that says create pull request. You'll see Lambda School in the first, you'll see master in the second box, you'll see your name and pre-course in the third box, and master in the fourth box. Then you say create pull request. And now you're going to say, I added a new file called new file.js. And then you're going to say create pull request. And it'll do a little something to it, and then it'll leave you here, and you're not going to see the green thing. And we want you, as soon as you fork and clone this repo, make one change, push it up, and submit a pull request. And then all subsequent changes you make to your repo will be reflected in this pull request. And the goal is to get this to be a green check mark by the end of the course, because at first it'll be red eventually. I'm going to close this because I don't want to add that. But that is our flow. And there's a lot of information to take in tonight. I understand that. These videos are recorded. Please go through and work through this assignment tonight just to fork and clone your own instead of a pull request on it. And all of the info is in here, right? And we're also all on CS Lesson 1. And then the pull request is all we want you to do tonight. So that's our lesson for tonight. Basic terminal commands and using Git and GitHub. Tomorrow night, we're going to hop in and actually start creating stuff. We're going to use HTML and CSS tomorrow night, and we're actually going to start building things. This is kind of you have to set this stuff up in order to get ready. And then we'll start building stuff tomorrow. If you do not have a text editor downloaded, either VS Code, Sublime, Atom, any text editor of your choosing, please do so tonight before we start class tomorrow, because we will be using a text editor tomorrow. That being said, I've got 10 minutes. I want to answer some questions. If you have any questions, please post them in the questions channel on Slack. I've got a question for the previous mini bootcamp. You named it new file with a lowercase f. When logging in the note, you wrote new files. Is considered something bad practice? You should, naming conventions is something that you will decide upon with your team and your group, whoever you're working on the code with. Naming conventions in JavaScript tend to use camel case, which is the first letter is lowercase and the second and every subsequent word is uppercase. It's up to you, but you should always have the exact name written properly. Misspellings happen. Forenzo asks, why is GitHub command prompt a thing? Why not just use the drag and drop feature? Because what the drag and drop feature is doing is using your command prompt. And we want you to learn what's happening. This is ultimately a personal choice when it comes to a professional environment, but we want you to learn what is actually happening behind the scenes. The command prompt is very powerful. You can go through and do a lot of things in the command prompt that you can't do on the graphical interface. So we want you, and you'll see this is a reoccurring theme across all of our instruction, is you learn, that you get a little bit of a deeper dive onto, we want you to learn how things are working and why things are working under the hood, and then we kind of add those cool tools to it. But those tools remove a lot of complexity and they remove a lot of understanding of what's actually happening. So that's why we use the command prompt. I would like you to use the command prompt for this mini bootcamp. Beyond that, it'll be up to you. I personally like the command prompt. I know developers that use the the GitHub desktop or the graphic interface. It's about 50-50, I've seen. All right. Computer science immersive class is Monday through Friday for the full-time class. It's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can use any text editor you want. So I have a question. If we use text editor like Atom, do we have to use VS Code? No, you don't. We recommend VS Code because it's what most of our instructors are using when we are showing you stuff. We want it, especially for those of you that are brand new, we want it to look like it does on your computer, like it looks like on our videos and what you see through our lessons. If you have a favorite text editor, by all means, that's the one you want to use. Use whatever one you want. But just know that's why we recommend VS Code. I downloaded Git Bash and VS Code. Do these serve the same function? Which one should we use? Git Bash and VS Code do not serve the same function. So for tonight only, we're using Git Bash. Git Bash is, our terminal is our Bash terminal. It allows us to get into our computer. VS Code is what we call a text editor. So that allows us to go in and change code in files and save it. And then we go back to our Git Bash, and then we can do all the Git stuff in Git Bash. Is there a preview of code on VS Code? There's a bunch of plugins you can get. I don't know if there's anything specifically built into VS Code, but there is a bunch of stuff that you can download. Yeah, VS Code, you can view it as you type. The terminal, so I have a question. Is the terminal what we use for Node.js? It is. It absolutely is. Yep. So when you get to the Node portion of the course, if you're in the full-time course or the part-time full course, you will be using Node or the terminal to run Node programs. Somebody has the same name as me on GitHub, so I had to place an X in front of my name. Is there any other alternatives to using an X in my name? I like numbers at the end of the name. It just tells whoever, or nicknames and things like that aren't unprofessional. Just make sure that if you use it, it is something that you don't mind employers seeing, and that you don't think employers are going to say like, oh, why are they using, profane references in their GitHub name, or, illicit drug references in their GitHub name, things like that. This is a professional environment, and you just want to come across as professional as possible. If you got a cool nickname that is professional and it's, nothing profane, by all means, go for it. But like I say, I like to just use the regular name. But if you want alternatives to using an X, I would say numbers work. Okay, everybody, that is going to cover it for tonight's lesson. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Tomorrow night, we start working on HTML and CSS, and we start actually creating and building things that we can see. This is just kind of setting us up for getting our development environment set up and allowing us to move on. There's a little bit of frustration, a little bit of like getting stuff set up just right. But when it's set up, it works, it's great, and we can move on from there. So work on getting your Git and your Git Bash, all that stuff set up tonight. And like I said, if you don't have time tonight, by all means, join us tomorrow anyways. Keep going through the lessons, and we're here in all of the CS lesson help channels. So pick the lesson you're on. Tonight's CS lesson 1. So we'll see you in the help channel tonight. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.